Why hello there, what's good y'all, Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode. So it's very likely that this is going to be my final upload of 2024. This was definitely a year of all time, and Pokemon was in there somewhere. It is absolutely no mystery to literally anybody that this has been one of the quietest years in Pokemon history. I feel like me and plenty of others who play Pokemon consistently have gotten so used to them dropping something in regards to Pokemon every single year that having such an empty and barren year for the franchise is downright, like, scary almost. And when I say scary, I don't mean scared in terms of worriment for the franchise. I am never going to be worried about Pokemon as a franchise succeeding or being okay. No, I simply mean just downright freaking that they've had just zero presence at all. I mean, granted, they've been doing stuff, don't get me wrong, we've gotten a couple of things this year regardless of how silent it's been on the mainline front, but it only feels like we got one real thing that was significant enough to cause any kind of a stir. So it's just incredibly strange for something like Pokemon, who's bold enough to put out unfinished products, to be this quiet. Now let's get one thing very straight here. I personally believe that we needed this very dead year of Pokemon. The thing about me is, I am a big fan of many franchises. As you guys clearly know, I'm a big Persona fan, I'm a massive Sonic fan, I'm a big Kingdom Hearts fan, all of which have big wait times in between major releases. And that's just my thing here. It's very normal to have wait times up to like 2 to 3 years in between releases. With Pokemon, right from the get-go, we grew very accustomed to yearly releases. And obviously, at an earlier time where we were still very early in our technology with gaming, that was a very maintainable flow. But it's been a very long time since '98, bro. Gaming and technology has evolved to astronomical levels. Kind of hard to maintain a yearly consistent flow, and that's something I'm sure that they very much learned the hard way with these last couple of releases. Which is why we are looking at what we're looking at today, with Pokemon Legends ZA having absolutely no presence or info whatsoever, even though usually months before this point in time we would have received our second annual Pokemon Presents, which we didn't get this year. Now this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anybody anyway, considering the fact that we also by this point in time would have at least had some kind of Nintendo Direct, which we also didn't get. And simply put, the reason for all of this being something we already very much well know. They are gearing up full stop for the Switch 2. And as we all full and well know, Pokemon in of itself is a massive console seller, whether you want to admit that or not. So it's kind of important that they get Pokemon Legends ZA right from the get-go. I have to believe with all of my being that Pokemon Legends ZA is going to be one of the launch titles for the Switch 2, because they know exactly what they need to do to get people to purchase these consoles now. The Wii U didn't have games. The Switch had some games. So I feel like they fully well know by now what their mistake was that first time around, and they're probably not gonna make that mistake again. And with that, we have our first actual reasonable wait time for a Pokemon game. And I hope with everything that brings some actual genuine quality that we haven't seen with this series in a very long time. And if it does look good when we see it for the first time in that next Pokemon Presents or whatever, all the more reason for 2024 to have been completely dead. So I keep saying that this year was empty, silent, quiet, dead, but was it really completely as empty as I'm making it out to be? Well, since this is kind of the end of the year video here, it's something of a year in review type situation. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at what we did receive in terms of Pokemon in 2024. And yes, of course, you are very much allowed to have a normal traditional snack or meal for this one. Go ahead and bake yourself a thing of Rice Krispies and dip that in some raw eggs. And let's go ahead and chit chat about Pokemon in 2024. So, what all did we get this year? Well, the first thing of note, something I didn't even talk about or make a video on, and I didn't really see anybody else talk much about it, was the additional DLC that we got for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet all the way back in January. And I can't even blame anybody for not even remembering that this DLC came out, because I was supposed to make a full video. Like, I have all of the footage recorded from that. I've even used it for some videos recently, but never actively talked about it. Which is strange, because this was such a pattern-breaking act that they've done once again to prove that we don't know anything about what they're gonna pull next. We have absolutely no clue ever. We've never had a third DLC for a Pokemon game, let alone a free DLC. So this entire situation was just completely uncanny. Like, it's so weird that it happened, but it's also strange that nobody really acknowledged it much after the fact. So yeah, that definitely exists. What else we got? Naturally, of course, we went right into February, which is where we got our annual Pokemon Presents. We got everything we predicted, and then Legends EA. They talked about the apps for a straight, like, 5 or 6 minutes or whatever. Nobody cared about that stuff. And then they gave us another Legends game. Great, awesome. We did not expect it to get an announcement for a worldwide release of 2025. That was very strange. But here we are. They're definitely living up to that. However, the other thing, as opposed to Pokemon Legends EA, that stood out above all the rest was the TCG app. This scared the living hell out of me, because Pokemon already makes way too much money from card stuff alone. There was absolutely no reason for them to go out of their way to make it digital and completely accessible to everybody. That would make the game way too easy. And they did it, man. They actually did that. The thing that was strange to me, though, was the fact that even after that announcement, we didn't get that for summer. We only got the TCG app like a month or so ago. I kind of figured, okay, that makes sense. A Pokemon TCG app where we're going to be spending our entire summer just playing that completely makes sense to me. But no, they saved it for much closer to the holiday season, which, strange, but I guess it's not all that crazy, because I mean, hey, if your friend is extremely into this app and they are actively spending money on it, then give them a nice little $20 towards it or something so they could buy a couple packs. So yeah, that definitely tracks. So yeah, the TCG app happens and all of the apps definitely got their updates. I didn't play any of them outside of TCG, so I can't really tell you whether or not any of them were good or not, whether it be Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Cafe Remix, Pokemon Unite. Just, I don't mess with them at all. And then the last Pokemon thing of note that comes to mind is Pokemon Horizons, which I have been very on and off with. After One Piece, I like to get to a point with anime where I would just love for them to just do their thing, let the weekly episodes drop, and then eventually I'll binge all of it at once, because I absolutely despise waiting when I could just not think about it, and then in the moment when I'm watching it, I could just get into it and watch all the episodes at once. So I have been kind of off the anime, don't really know exactly where it is at this point in time, but I've heard good things, so that's good to know. And I think for something like Pokemon, it's very good to have the Netflix format where they just kind of drop 12 or so episodes at a time so that people can just enjoy it like that, as opposed to having to wait for weekly episodes. I feel like for something like this, that would make me incredibly impatient. You know what I mean? So yeah, Pokemon Horizons has definitely been doing its thing. I definitely still plan on watching it. I'm enjoying it for the most part. I just have fallen off and watched and played a bunch of different things throughout the year that kind of distracted me, but I think that that's a good thing, because eventually I'm going to come back to Horizons and I'm going to be able to sit through all of it in one go, and I think that would be great. But aside from that, I think that's just about everything major that we received from Pokemon in 2024. Now, of course, if I'm missing something, if I forgot something, go ahead and just correct me or explain it to me and remind me, because, you know, I can only keep up with so much at one time, you know? So, was this year satisfactory when it comes to Pokemon? Well, to kick things off, the DLC, the third free DLC that we got from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, was more or less very lackluster. Like, don't get me wrong, I do think that it was very cute. I do think it was very special to have Arvin, Penny, and Nimona come back for a complete DLC, and they got to actually meet Carmine and Kieran, especially because the DLC, for the most part, solely revolved around them. So it was kind of like a cute little epilogue reunion episode where you got to see all of your friends in one place again, and it was very cute, it was very sweet. It was just kind of, again, lackluster in terms of story and things like that, because it really was just a little filler thing. It kind of played out like a Saturday morning cartoon where this one random mythical Pokemon that they designed for this just kind of showed up and started causing havoc all over the place. It was very generic in terms of story. And I have to imagine that for a lot of people, that's why it didn't really resonate, because it was just so whatever. It's extremely forgettable to, again, the point where I, a Pokemon YouTube creator, didn't make any content revolving around that. So Satisfactory, if we had to put it in levels, I'd put that like smack dab in the middle. Like, it wasn't necessarily so satisfactory that I'm like left fulfilled and like, oh yes, Generation 9 is complete. Like, yes, that was perfect, but I'm not like disappointed either. It's something that happened and it was free, and I can appreciate that they did something like that at all. I'm game with it. Now, as far as satisfactory levels go, we got to take a look at the apps, which, I mean, to app lovers, I'm sure you have been very pleased and blessed this year. And when I say that, I am solely referring to Pokemon TCG, not talking about literally anything else, not even Pokemon Unite. I just need to know who is keeping those other games afloat. TCG makes sense. People talk about that, people actively use that. But literally every other app, I don't see anybody utilizing Pokemon Masters like that. I don't hear anybody making a peep about Pokemon Cafe Remix, dog. Not one soul. But the TCG app, that one there is kind of a beast. I don't play it at all, really. I go in, I open up packs. I don't really battle. I don't really care that much about that aspect of it. I just go in and get the packs. But everybody I know that plays it, they are pretty consistent with it. They battle, they get their cards and everything. It's a pretty good time. It's a solid app, I can't lie. So I guess as far as satisfactory levels go for the apps, I'll go ahead solely for TCG in this aspect. I'm gonna put that a little bit above the middle. Like, yes, it was definitely closer to satisfactory than not, because the TCG app is very solid. It's probably gonna be getting very consistent updates. We're already on our like third or fourth pack or whatever with the new Mew pack right now. So yeah, I could definitely see this going a long way. And if you love apps like that, if that's your thing, it's a good time. I'm not even gonna front. And then there's the anime, which again, I haven't watched in a good couple of months now, so I don't know exactly where it's at, but I still very much appreciate the anime doing its own thing. I do enjoy it for what it is. I like that it has an original plot, completely original cast, and it has its own story going on. Of course, I do have my qualms about it. I don't think that it's perfect by any means, but of all of the things that the anime could have done, I don't think that this is a bad direction necessarily. So yeah, I'll definitely put this exactly where I put Pokemon TCG in terms of satisfactory, just a little bit above the middle, where I enjoy the watch. It's not everything I want, but it's a nice change of pace. And yes, I did rush that part because I can definitely see future me editing this now, and I don't want to spend, because I'm not gonna grab clips. Grabbing clips from the anime is a freaking nightmare. It's probably gonna be a PNG or something. It's probably gonna be a picture. I'm so sorry. So, getting back on topic, was it completely necessary to have basically close to nothing in terms of major Pokemon releases this year? Now, I still very much stand by what I said at the beginning of this video. In terms of mainline releases, I am very glad that we had a regular, completely silent and empty year in terms of mainline stuff. As you guys have heard me say time and time again throughout the course of this year, I am just simply really hoping that this is them truly sitting down and locking the hell in and finally giving us the very high quality Pokemon game that we have been more than deserving of over these last couple of years on this brand new console. If it weren't for the fact that this game is most likely what's needed to be one of the major releases for the Switch 2, I would be more than game to have a second quiet year. I've always been avid in my opinion that I think that Game Freak is a set of truly talented developers who are very passionate at the very least about Pokemon and that know what they're doing. The only thing holding them back is the time crunch situation. With Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I have truly seen the potential of what they could do if they actually had enough time to do it. It's not that they're not passionate developers, they just need time to be passionate developers. And unfortunately, they gotta go half and half on that. But maybe, just maybe, we'll truly see the fruits of their labor by the time we actually get around to Pokemon Legends EA. And I am truly hoping that's the case, which is why, again, I reiterate, yes, we needed one solid, quiet year. However, I do at the very least believe that if they knew about the Switch 2 for these last at least couple of years, they could have put something in motion in terms of a spin-off game, an actual spin-off game. One final little hoorah for Pokemon to celebrate the end of its time on the Switch. We could have gotten something, dude. Even a couple of ports would have been nice. Again, I'm glad it was silent, but Jesus, it didn't need to be that silent. Regardless, all of this to say that hopefully this means that they are just cooking in the background right now. I'm talking the entire Christmas feast type situation. And hopefully, because I believe that we're about to hit our 28th year, this is going to be the game that holds us over for a good majority of that time until we get Generation 10. And Gen 10 is probably going to be incredibly massive, hopefully very high quality, and it's gonna be good. And I really hope that Legends EA is kind of our glimpse into that future. So overall, big thumbs up. Hopefully the Switch 2 is looking good next year. Hopefully Pokemon is looking even better on it next year, and that we'll have a grand old time and Pokemon will change for the better. But hey, you know what? Maybe that really is just me. So that just about wraps it up for this one. This one was definitely closer to a Soul Ramble mode because I just figured, hey, you know what? It's the end of the year. Let's just sit down with each other and just reminisce a little bit, you know, just take a little look back, you know? And I think I've done this every year so far, right? For both 2022 and 2023. So, you know, we're probably just go ahead and expect one of these at least every year. I was thinking about doing this video much earlier. Like, I wrote this script like a month ago, but then I was like, you know what? This is a very much end of the year video. And if my plans don't pan out for the project that I wanted to put out at the end of the year don't, you know, work out, I figured I could just do this instead and then put that video out at the beginning of 2025. So this, again, will probably be my last video of 2024. Hopefully I can get that bigger project out right from the get-go to kick things off in 2025, because I feel like you guys will really, really enjoy that one. I don't see it happening. If I'm being so honest, it's taking a lot longer than I thought. But it is what it is. Stuff like this happens. But regardless, that is 2024. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Because I would, you know, always love to be down with you guys. Do you think that everything here was, you know, it was what needed to happen? Do you agree that we needed a solid, quiet year for Pokemon this year and that, you know, everything that we did get was more than enough? Or are you a little bit more disappointed? You're really upset that Pokemon didn't get more. We should have gotten Legends EA a lot sooner. We should have gotten more spin-offs. We should have gotten more apps and things along those lines. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be done there with you guys. Is that everything? Because this, it's holiday season, man. I'm gonna go chill. I'm gonna be chilling until New Year's minimum. I mean, I'm gonna be working in the background, but like, as far as like heavy uploading, that's it. So I think that's it. Thank you guys for yet another phenomenal year. I had a great time. I hope to see everybody in the new year next week. Do yourselves do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care of yourself, your family, your loved ones, and everything in between. Stay safe out there, and have a phenomenal rest of your year. And I will see you guys in the next year of 2025. Do me a great favor, taking good ass care, and I will see you all next year. Bye.